It's been almost 2 weeks since the men's basketball team took gold against France in the Olympics, and I'm still not over what Steph did in that final 2.5 minutes. I can't tell you how many times I've watched the replay of the game, watched highlights of the game, especially those final few moments where Steph just went berserk at the end of the game, and it's prompted this deep dive I'm about to do on Steph and the impact of the gold medal game and what he did. So let's get into it. Welcome to the deep dive. What's up, everybody? I'm Sandeep. This is the deep dive. Thank you for watching. And as I mentioned, it's Steph Curry. I'm at a loss for words even 2 weeks later, because what he did in that gold medal game just added on to his legacy. And that's what I want to talk about, is the impact of the gold medal to Stephen Curry's career, his legacy, what it means, because we're talking about a guy who's the greatest shooter of all time. That's unanimous. We all know that. He's in the conversation already for top 10 all time. He did that with the fourth ring that he captured in 2022. And now he adds an Olympic gold medal to his resume. And not only did he just add that, he is one of the key reasons, if not the key reason, as to why they won that gold medal. Because when Team USA needed somebody to step up, when they needed a big performance, it was Steph who did it, not once but twice in the two biggest games of the Olympics. We'll start with first the semifinals against Serbia, because USA trailed in this game by as much as 17 points, including a 13-point deficit going into the fourth quarter. And Steph got off to a hot streak in this one. He had 17 points in the first quarter. It looked like it was going to be one of those games for Steph, and it was, but it took Team USA a while to get there. And even going into the fourth quarter, like I said, down 13, and it was Steph who put the team on his back late in that one, hit the go-ahead three-pointer that rattled in, with a couple minutes left, and then he ends up scoring a layup, a couple of late free throws to ice that game, scores 36 points, makes 9 three-pointers to put USA past Serbia into the gold medal game. And then the gold medal game, 2.5 minutes left. It's a tight one. And USA was up by as much as 12-15 in this game too, but France fought back. And in the final few moments, Steph Steph. He does what Steph does. He went supernova, scoring 12 straight points on 4 3-pointers. The first one, little pump fake, steps into it, knocks it down. The next one lets Batum fly by, cashes it. Third one, Devin Booker drives along the baseline, kicks it to Steph up top, who's a couple feet behind the three-point line. Pump fake, bam, right as the shot clock expires. And then this last three-pointer he made, this was the heat check of all heat checks in basketball history. You will never see another shot like this, I think. And when you talk about what heat check is, this shot that Steph made was just that. He has the ball on the right wing. Double team starts to come as Nick Batum, is the second body making his way over. Steph kicks the ball to KD. KD lets Batum gravitate back towards him, and then immediately KD knows what it is. He kicks the ball back to Steph, and here comes Batum again to double him. Steph takes a couple dribbles, step back, and just rainbow arcs this shot towards the basket, and it goes in, and he hits his patented night-night celebration, and crowd's going crazy. The whole USA bench is just erupting, and you see LeBron, AD, everyone hitting the night-night celebration, and it was incredible. I think, speaking for myself, it's a core memory for me, because I know exactly where I was, who I was with when I was watching that moment, watching USA capture the gold and Steph doing what he did. And I'm sure anyone who watched that game is going to look back and think about that too. You're going to remember where you were in that moment and what you were doing. And it's all because of what Steph did. And I just want to talk about the impact of what Steph did, because we're talking about a guy who's a 4-time NBA champion, 2-time MVP, including unanimous MVP. the All NBA selections, the All Star selections. He's the NBA's league leader in three-pointers made in a season, the all-time league leader in three-pointers made, and that's a record that he just continues to add to every year. But now he adds a gold medal to his resume, and he's already top 10, but I think what he did with the gold medal on the resume, doing it the way he did, having the two big games, 60 points combined in the final two games, I think Steph cemented himself into that top 5 to 8 conversation now. And when it's all said and done, a few years from now, I think Steph's going to play until he's at least 40, if not a couple more years beyond that. We talk about the longevity of LeBron James. I think Steph is going to be right there next to him because Steph's game is, a lot of it's predicated on his conditioning, and he's the most conditioned player in the NBA. He runs way more than anyone else. It's not even close. And as long as he stays in that shape, which I assume he will if he's going to continue to play this high level, which I assume he will, Steph can play for a really long time, another 4 or 5 years easily if he wants to, because that shot's never going anywhere. And I think Steph, when it's all said and done, especially if he adds one more ring to his resume, now you're talking about top 5. He's not there yet. I think he's in the top 5 to 8 for sure, but if he happens to get one more, the conversation could definitely change. But this performance he had in the Olympics, especially after starting a bit slow. Through the first 5 exhibition games, he only averaged a little over 12 points. In the 3 group play games, he only averaged 7.3 points per game. Quarterfinal versus Brazil, scored just 7 points. And then here you go. Biggest game of the Olympics, semifinal versus Serbia, 36 points. They move on to the final. Biggest game of the Olympics. They're facing the host nation in France. Talking about Victor Wembanyama, Evan Fournier, Nicolas Batum, and a few others on that side. What does Steph do? 24 points on 8 threes, including 12 straight in the fourth quarter in the clutch time, and puts the team on his back and carries USA to gold with his performance. That's all-time stuff. That performance that Steph had in the gold medal game is one of the best moments in basketball history. He did it on the international stage when the stakes were the highest of the high, and for him to come up clutch over and over and over and over again is something that is always going to be talked about. When one day when the Stephen Curry documentary is out, this performance he had in the gold medal game is going to be talked about because it was that big. And it's no surprise that, he did this considering he won Clutch Player of the Year in the NBA this past season. But for him to do it, it was just on that stage, like I said, it was incredible. Warrior fans on Twitter were saying this is the experience that we're used to getting, the high that we're used to getting when we watch Stephen Curry on a night in, night out basis. And someone who lives in the Bay, I might not be a Dubs fan, but I've seen hundreds of Warrior games over the years. I've watched Steph play a million times, a few times in person and a lot, on my TV screen. And I know what that Steph Curry experience is like. And just like Warrior fans are saying, I'm glad that the world got to see what the Steph Curry experience is like because he's that great. He's must-see TV. And anytime you're watching a Warriors game, anytime you're watching Stephen Curry, you can expect something big to happen. You can expect history to be made on any given night. And he did it in the biggest way. It was crazy. Like I said, I've watched the game replay a couple times. I've watched the highlights so many times now just because it's Steph. It's so fun. And there was a moment where I was like, man, am I going to cry right now? Because that's how good Steph was in that game, in that moment. And it was just special to witness. And he damn near made me cry. I'm not going to lie. Just watching him bring the gold home for Team USA was something so special. And I talk about the impact on Steph's career, but, I also got to talk about the impact that that prompted this discussion. People were already saying for the last few years, hey, Steph's the greatest point guard of all time. And it poses the question, is he the greatest point guard of all time? And the only other person who's in that conversation, in my opinion, is Magic Johnson. And, Magic, when you look at resumes, his is just as good as Steph's, if not better. Let me run you through some of what Magic Johnson did for all the kids who don't know. Magic Johnson, one of the greatest Lakers of all time, one of the greatest players of all time, 5-time NBA champion with the Showtime Lakers, 3-time NBA MVP, 3-time Finals MVP, 9-time All NBA first team, 12-time All Star, 4-time assist leader, Rookie of the Year, All Rookie first team. It's Magic Johnson, one of the true great floor generals of the NBA and of basketball. And he was more of a traditional point guard, right? And I think that's one of the biggest knocks that people try to make on Steph is he's not the floor general maybe that Magic Johnson was, or even that guys like Chris Paul, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, John Stockton were. But I think that's what makes Steph so unique and separates him from those guys. And in this particular conversation, Magic Johnson, because Steph is a floor general in a different way. He makes players better, and he doesn't even need the ball in his hands to do that. We do see Steph on the ball a lot, right? He runs pick and rolls, he runs pick and pops with guys. But there's never been a guy in the history of the NBA, in the history of basketball, who's been arguably more dangerous without the basketball in his hands, in his or her hands. And what I'm talking about is that Steph gravity, right? When the Warriors are coming down on a break and Steph's running down one of the sidelines, you got sometimes 2-3 guys so worried about leaving Steph open for a shot that you have a wide open Draymond running down the lane, or a wide open Wiggins uncontested dunk right at the rim. And that's because of how good Steph Curry is. And the same thing happens when they're in the half court. Steph is running, sideline to sideline, along the baseline, trying to get open, running off of screens, off of pin downs, all these flares. And when he's doing that, he's drawing so much attention. This is why so many guys in the NBA say that Steph is so hard to guard, because he doesn't stop moving. And he'll be coming off these screens and multiple players are flying at him. And then next thing you know, it's a wide open layup or a wide open dunk for one of his teammates. And so that's when I say Steph might not be a traditional floor general like a Magic Johnson, yet he's still so good at making players around him better. And that's all because of his shooting ability. So Steph does it in a different way. And he might not have the assist numbers that Magic Johnson has, but he has 4 championships. He has multiple MVPs. He has that gold medal, which I know Magic Johnson has. He has more of those aside from Olympics, right? He has one more championship than Steph does, one more MVP than Steph does. But when you look at what Steph's done, the way he's changed the game, the way he's impacted the game, the way he's been doing it for a long time now too, and he's still going to be doing it for a few more years, I think Steph has already put himself ahead of Magic Johnson. And I think when it's all said and done, especially if he gets one more ring, I don't think it's even going to be a debate. But in my opinion right now, as it currently stands, Steph is the greatest point guard of all time. And look, I didn't get to watch Magic Johnson play live, and that's just the reality of basketball and sports and growing up in different times and watching different eras, right? I've seen highlights of Magic. I've seen the game replays. I've seen the documentaries. I watched Winning Time on HBO. I know Magic Johnson is one of the all-time greats, and I'm not taking that away from him. Look, I'm a Laker fan. This is, coming from a Laker fan, I can't be biased here. I've watched Steph play countless times. I've witnessed the greatness in person and on a nightly basis from watching these games, and I can confidently say that I think Steph is the greatest point guard of all time. And look, it's subjective. Everyone's going to have their own opinion on that. You can agree, you can disagree. You might think it's neither one of those guys. You might think it's Chris Paul or Steve Nash or Jason Kidd or John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas, Oscar Robertson, whoever you think it is. But to me, when it comes down to those two guys, Magic Johnson and Steph Curry, I give the head nod to Steph Curry, especially after what he did in this gold medal game. He cemented that for me. So Steph Curry, greatest point guard of all time, continues to rise in that list of top 10 players of all time, and appreciate greatness while it's here. You're going to hear me say this a lot on my show. Appreciate the greats while they're here. Whether it's Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, those 3 guys, right, carried Team USA to this gold medal. And these guys are all 35 plus now, right? They're getting older. Their time is near when we talk about retirement. So watch these guys whenever you can, especially this upcoming season. And for Steph Curry in particular, thank you for carrying Team USA to gold and for giving us the performance that you did. It's an all-time basketball performance, one that none of us will ever forget. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of The Deep Dive. Keep an eye out for more content coming out soon. NBA season's around the corner, NFL season's around the corner, so I'll be here and locked in with you guys. And remember, always dive off the deep end.